Hi, my name is Daria, and back in the fall of 2020, I did an interview with Vanille from Final Fantasy XIII's voice actress, Georgia Van Cuylenburg. Just as a brief warning, there is some mentions of sexual assault, PTSD, child abuse, and general mentions of trauma, so if that's not your thing, then I'd advise skipping this video. Thank you so much, and enjoy! Alright, thank you so much for joining me, Georgia. What do you prefer to be called, Miss Georgia, Miss Cuylenburg?
Georgia, you can call me whatever.
Thank you. And I'm Daria. It's so nice to meet you, finally. Oh my gosh.
Meet your face. I feel like we know each other already, but now I know you.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? So I've been a fan of Final Fantasy for a pretty long time. Like not super long. It was actually fairly recent, in middle of high school, that I started to get into it as like escapism for a lot of bad things happening at home, and 13 was kind of like the message that reached out to me the most. And so I'm really honored to have you here, because Vanille is my favorite Final Fantasy character for this reason, like encompassing like my experience and my emotions to like a T. So this is out of this world for me. So thank you so much for being here. It means a lot.
It's my pleasure. And anyone that resonates with Vanille, it's sort of like they're a kindred spirit to me, because she and I have so much in common for our journeys as well. So I always feel like my Vanille people are my people.
Yes, rock on. What was I gonna say? Okay, so I know it's been almost 11 years as of December 17th, I think. It's been 11 years since Final Fantasy XIII was released, and I wanted to know, like, how do you feel in retrospect, since it's been like such a long time, like that it's been 11 years, like how do you still feel that you've had this role on your back and under your belt, but it's been such a long time and you still recall it fondly, right?
Oh, totally. I'll always think of my time as Vanille very fondly, and it is that tricky thing of like wanting to go back and do it differently. I think we always have that, oh, if I only knew what I know now kind of thing. But I think that's the magic of Vanille and the journey that she took, is that because we recorded 2 and 3 years apart, and so she also went on that journey. Like by 3, she's clearly changed so much that it wouldn't be right to go back and be who I am now.
Yeah.
Know too much about life for the Vanille that she's meant to be. So I think I miss it. Like that was such a special time, getting to record every week, once or twice, be in her world. I really, really miss it. And I miss everybody, like Jack and Joe, the producer.
Jack, yes, the director.
Yeah.
That's what they called him, Uncle Jack. That's what I heard from Ali Hillis and Troy Baker.
Yes.
Like, oh, Uncle Jack.
Yeah, Jack is just one of the greatest. And I haven't worked with him since, because they didn't work with them on 2 or 3. So just such good people. And yeah, I love it. I mean, I'll always love it, and it'll always be such an important part of my life.
And that was your first video game voice acting, right?
I'd done one previously that was like for Sony, just a small, I don't even know what it was in. But yeah, it was my first big one for sure.
Okay, that's so neat. That's so neat. Oh my gosh. Oh, I wanted to ask, what was the most difficult scene to voice in the first game? Like, either difficult as in like you had to do a lot of takes, or it was like painful emotionally to you? I was just curious about that.
I think I almost feel like if you asked 10 Final Fantasy fans to guess, they would get it right.
Oh my God! Like the Nautilus scene, the confrontation?
Yeah. See, you got it.
Oh my God. I cried the first time I watched that. I didn't get a chance to play the game until a year and a half after watching it. The first time I was sobbing uncontrollably. It was so good. I was like, oh my God, how did I guess that right? Okay, go ahead. Tell me.
Yeah, no, it was hard, because at that point, just like Vanille, who was always peppy and happy and wanting to ignore the bad things, I was in that place too. So when they wanted me to go to this dark place, it really was a stretch for me, because I didn't want to. I had so much darkness and sadness in me that I always avoided that. Well, not in me, but like in my past, that I avoided it at that point in my journey. So it took some time to really go there, and I did really go there. It wasn't like I dialed it in, but it was very clear, like from Jack and Joe, that like we had to go there. And the funny thing was, I'll never forget. They got sort of like mad at me at the end as a joke because they would always record me in the afternoon and they'd record Hope in the morning.
Oh
And
my god.
Hope's character was so depressing and sad that they were like, we always look forward to having you come in the afternoon because it's peppy and happy. And now, and that one day they were like, now we just feel even worse. You didn't make
Yeah.
me happy today. This got more sad.
That's
So,
it made me so depressed in a good way. Your voice acting was like phenomenal in that. Oh my god.
thank
I
you.
like how the delivery of "it's not over." Like, oh my god. So it like the irony is that okay, so the thing with like suicide, it's like it's a contradiction because it's your body screaming, "I want a better situation, but I don't
Yeah.
like the one that I have now." It's not that you don't want to live at all. It's you want to live just in a different circumstance.
Yes.
So I love that irony of Vanille and Sam's both being like, I want to blow myself up. Like, I'm sick of this. But then,
Yeah.
like finding the will to survive through each other, like to protect them. That's just like so sweet. And the deliver of it's not over. It's just, oh my God. That it is like, ever since I watched that, that was like, what, senior year, that it just, oh my God, it resonated with me so much. Oh
I
my God.
think
But I had,
I'm glad that it did because it shows you that things can be worse than you'd ever imagine, right? And you can be literally facing the worst thing you could ever imagine. And it doesn't mean it's the end.
yeah, exactly.
There's another
Oh my
day.
God, I'm tearing up.
If you just get past the feeling, and I often describe it, to me, it feels like because we don't relate so much to our environment, especially if we're dealing with depression or mental ill health, we feel very disconnected from our environment. And I would almost say that our environment feels like a skin on us, like we take it on as an indication of us, not exteriors. And so people who are experiencing mental ill health and having suicide ideations and things often, I think it's this thing of like, I don't want to be in my skin anymore. Like, I don't want to have this world. And I think when we can take that away and be like, I am not my skin, I am not my environment, I am not this. And in fact, I'll be okay tomorrow if I just like stop blaming, like stop putting it on my skin and my environment and stop seeing the world around me as part of me. And I think that that's what happened in this sort of clever device of making it a dream and then not a dream and then
Yeah, like the city of Nautilus, the city of dreams. Oh my God, I love that so much. Also, you were saying about the internalizing the feelings of your environment. Right before, I'm pretty sure you know this because you recorded this scene, but I really like the detail with Vanille going to see a propaganda festival by the Cocoon government. Kind of like, sorry, it was like rubbing salt in the wound. It's like, hey,
yeah,
I know you feel like you're a piece of shit, but guess what? We have propaganda that hammers it in more. So,
absolutely. But I think that goes back to what we were talking about before we started recording about the voices. Because I think that whether they meant it or not, I took that as almost like the voices that she was hearing in her head about her.
oh, the Sans projection. You're
Yeah.
the killer. Yeah, that's what I thought too. That was Lightning has a similar scene with that. You played the game. I remember I watched a
Yeah.
bit of your stream. Anyways, she has a similar scene where she imagines Snow and Sarah, but she couldn't have seen this event because she never like saw them together. She was just like imagining this in her head and like imagining how like crappy she felt and like having that externalized like in a visual like mental thing. And I thought that was so cool. But yeah, that's exactly what I guessed. I was like, it's not literal. It's like symbolic.
Yes. But so often we see things in our minds that will never happen, but we decide that they're real, right?
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you have to like Vanilla has to keep track of like either lying by omission or telling white lie or something like that. Like your brain will like try to justify a lot of things and like kind of like that anxiety, like the anxiety, the TikTok of emotions, like you said.
Yes.
Um, just like how do I say this? Like this fake control that you have over your environment, and then like how do I say it? And but because you have to handle so much of it, it's like, how do I say it? It's like being it's like like matchsticks, like pegging up a stone, and just like it can crack at any bit. So you kind of like feel that weight and that constant like, and I even see that with like, I like the detail of like Vanille being like people pleaser, because I really relate to that, like to overcompensate for like the amount of uh chaos you feel on the inside. So yeah, I love that detail.
Well, when you're keeping secrets and trying to keep everybody happy, you have to be a people pleaser,
That is true.
because if you don't please everybody, the truth might come out. And that's the scariest thing to people pleasers. And I mean, I am the most honest person now, like to the fault of like people like going, oh my God, you just told me that. I'm like, I got no room for lies. I got no room for omissions. I got none of this because I need to go on with my life. I'm way too busy to be thinking about what story I told you last time. Like that is not the way I want to live my life. And it's so much better. I mean, people get a little bit shocked sometimes. They're like, oh, okay, that was honest. And I'm like, well, it's the truth. So
I feel that too. I think in our interaction back in the spring, you read it, but how do I say it? Final Fantasy 13, just like the entire storyline of the characters having shared baggage to like, how do I say this? Um, to stop like feeding themselves lies and to hold up a narrative like I'm strong, I got this, or to justify something that isn't just escapism, and to like kind of like confront it head on and like be truthful. That has inspired me so much, and I really relate to you saying like I'm so much more truthful now today than I was like in high school. So I just really needed that message, and I'm really glad your voice, your talent was part of that. Oh my God, I'm tearing up right now. Thank you so much. Um, the next part question I wanted to ask. So of course Vanilla is the narrator of the story, but I wanted to know when were you like asked to voice the narration lines first, and how did you have to, because her voice is different from the narration. It's like a little bit more deeper and solemn when she speaks. I love that detail because it shows that she pitches her voice up for others.
yes.
That's something I did in high school and middle school, and I was like, oh my God, I love that detail. But I wanted to hear the process and like how did you like develop that with the voice directors and things like
Yeah.
that?
So it is the pitching up because that's totally what I do, but it's also meant to be, the way they described it to me was it's like if she was watching this back 5 to 10 years from now. So she's a little older and a little wiser. And I guess now we understand, like if I'd known where 3 was going to go, maybe they were trying to hint that she was going to look back from 3 almost and sort of look at who she had been and everything. But we did it all in order. So it was all chapter by chapter by chapter. We didn't do voiceovers and then lines. So it would be more a thing, like it was always obvious to me if something was a narration. And then they would say, but they'd always say, this is a narration, so we're using narration voice. And then we'd go back into scenes.
Okay, that's so cool. Oh, I wanted to ask, what they tell you about, I really like this line because, Vanille was separate from the Hope Snow Lightning conflict, but she was still narrating over it and like sharing her experience. Like she heard the story. The line is like, when it comes to home and family, we don't keep either as close as we should. Who's to say that the next time might be the last? Do you remember that line?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Can you tell me how did they like give you special instructions on that? Because I just like I love that. You just how do I okay, so like it was I love how Vanille was divorced from the conflict, but she still had like this inside to it. It just felt so
Yeah.
wholesome. Yeah.
Well, I think that at the time I was trying to connect it to the character, and that obviously when she'd left, Grand Pulse, and she'd left the world of her world, and Fang to me is also a family of sorts for her, that she had so many regrets about how she'd been there, and the fact that it was all gone in an instant because of a mistake she made, but also for me back then, I was still going through a lot of the coming to peace with how my family is, and how, I left my family. I left my family at 18 and moved over here, and definitely at that point I was actively keeping a distance between them and myself, just because there was a lot of pain and hurt that I'm at a very different place with now. I have a very unique sort of relationship to that now, but I'm very, very, very close with my brothers and their families because they've got little ones, and I love on them like I always wished I would, if that makes sense. Like you kind of wonder, I don't know, do you have nieces or nephews
Uh,
yet?
I mentioned, I don't know if you read it with that much of detail. This is like back in the spring, but I have a younger brother. Um,
Yes, I know about your brother. I just wondered if you had any sort of like, I don't know, I'd never want to assume. But one day you will have nieces and nephews, which is a really unique relationship where you get to love on them sort of distanced, you know? And I am being full heartedly the best auntie I can be and loving on them completely because it's not that I want to make up for the years of distance, because those miles were needed for us to be a healthy, happy family. But it's more that those children don't deserve that distance.
that's true.
They aren't the ones that were in relationship with me as a child, and when damage was done and when hurts were created, they don't know any of that. And so therefore it's kind of like they get a fresh start on the love and connection. And I buy the most ridiculous presents and
Oh,
send the silliest videos. And, you know, I just like literally my little nephew and I, Benji, we have this secret language almost that when I'm like, I'll be talking to my brother and his wife, and we'll be like, yeah, you know, I'm really worried about this other thing. And Benji will come on the screen, and the two of us will just go, la, 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 la. And then I'll be like, yeah, so I'm thinking that I'll probably, and we just,
it's so,
because
it's adorable.
he's more important, right? Like us having this funny moment where he knows it's totally fine. When Auntie Daughter comes on the screen, we get to go, and then I'll go back having a conversation. That's the aunt that I think I always wanted to be. So I think when I was saying lines like that, even though I'm not in the scene, I think everybody has their own relationship with family. And especially for somebody who literally took themselves over the other side of the world and started a new life without her family, there's no way I can say that line without having a like visceral reaction to
Oh my gosh.
always wishing you did more.
I cried reading that. I don't know if you can see it right now, but I have tears on my face. Because oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with that line. And we were saying the relationship to your nephew, that reminds me the scene with Hope and Vanille in Grand Pulse. What was I gonna say? Like how do I say this? Like he's talking about such a serious subject, and she's trying to like lighten the mood because he's a kid and he shouldn't have this horrible burden. And I don't, that's what it reminds me of. It's just like I love that, you know, being able to kind of like create a shape your reality for people you love, like, and live vicariously through them, giving them something that you didn't have.
Yeah. What the irony being, like when we did film that scene, we'll record that scene, we all had a lot of trouble with it because we were trying to work out. We were like, is she trying to lighten the mood, or is she uncomfortable with real emotion,
I
or is
think
she
both.
lying to him? Yeah, like we were unsure which direction to take it. But in the end, it was this thing of this is exactly how I am. Well, then now, I mean, now if it was me, like being Vanille, if it was me, I'd be like, let's talk about your feelings. Let's let it out. Their feelings are not you. They're things that are visiting you right now. Like I would have gone full into the George's Daily Glass of Lemonade. Let's talk about feelings.
Okay.
Good thing that we're not recording that now. But at the time, I really took it as this thing of she is just so lost in her own emotions and so unable. And it's like Hope to her represents a childhood that she never had. And he's so sad and so melancholy that it's very confronting for her because she wishes that her childhood would be happy.
Yeah,
And
and they're
but
both orphans. Or
yeah,
in a way, he still has his
yeah,
dad, but
yeah. To her, she's kind of like, no, you get a chance to be young and you get a chance to be happy. And I had to give that up. And now I'm pretending to be happy to try and get some of that back. So go be happy. Like she's mad at him that he can't be the kid that she wanted to be.
Yeah, because Hope is like really analytical. Like I don't know if you noticed, but there's something in the Ultimania I read, and that Hope has like a sixth sense. Like like not literally, but like because he's so hypervigilant and like very serious.
Well, I have a name for that. If you, I don't know if it's important to you, but those kids, I'm one of them, and my little brother is also one of them. And I call us, and I think you are as well. We wouldn't be having this conversation, and you wouldn't have made that cartoon strip if you weren't that person. But I call them 13 percenters because, you know, the standard joke line is, well, not joke, but like standard tropey line is that humans use 10% of their brain capacity. I know that's not true, but that's what people say. And so I came up with this concept of young people that are 13 percenters. It's like there's this extra 3% turned on at the back that makes them feel things and aware of things and question things, and they don't understand why other people do things. And it's just like life is harder for them because they feel everything more than everybody else.
Yeah, like they're like if you're 5, you're going kayaking for the first time versus going kayaking when you're 20 for the
yeah.
So it's like a more impactful experience, like with anything.
Yeah, totally. And people call them empaths. You know, I think that's sort of the grown-up word for it. But my thing was 13 percenters.
There we go. That's a good one. And I love how the conversation ends, like with the flip, like Hope, like he's like, oh, I like it when you like as a joke, like, and then Vanille's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, like, where was that 10 minutes
ago? Just kidding, trolling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved how it began, the middle, and loved the end. It was just, oh my god, everything, all the detail. The writer Daisuke Watanabe, I read a lot of his interviews, and he's the main script writer for the Japanese version, and he writes like paragraphs upon paragraphs about his really small, like detailed decisions. You know the scene where the reason Snow doesn't forgive Lightning immediately when they're at Hope's dad's house, and Daisuke Watanabe, he was like, I didn't want Snow to feel like he was taking advantage of a moral, social, higher upper ground than Lightning. So Snow specifically decided to be, how do I say it, like give some Lightning a challenge, like you have to earn the forgiveness instead of, okay, I forgive you, because that's not Lightning's personality. But yeah, like what was I gonna say? Just talking about this is so fun. Like I love the amount of detail the scriptwriter puts into this work, and it just makes me so happy to talk about. I'm so glad you really get it. Like you were really into those lines. Like I can clearly tell.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so nice to talk to you, because so many people, like when I do interviews, they're kind of like want to talk more about the gameplay sort of pieces, or I don't know, like just pieces that are all important and everything. But when you're an actor that's really taking it very seriously and getting into it, these lines really matter to you in the moment. So to have somebody who hears them and thinks about them in the same way, and the scriptwriter and the writer would feel the same way. They would be like, oh my gosh, you really paid attention. So if you want to make any performer or creative feel good, just know a lot about their work, and you're gonna you speak to the ego very quickly.
There we go. Oh my gosh, this feels unreal still. I'm like, where am I? Okay. But yeah, I want to start the next question. I want to like talk about how you relate more to Vanille as a person. Just like if you have any extra thoughts on it. We talked about it a little bit more, but I just wanted to hear more because I really connect with that as well.
So I actually did a video a while back that I can send you a link to, that I did for Laughter Heals Gaming. They have they asked me to do a video. I don't know if they ended up closing up shop during COVID and everything, but
the one about you were talking about like pathological lying.
No, maybe it was actually very specifically talking about Vanille and me.
Okay. Yeah, I think I watched that one. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is bizarre how different, obviously, but similar our journeys have been. Because when I came to do Final Fantasy 13, I'd been wearing wigs for 2 years.
Because you're alopecia.
Alopecia, yeah. And I was not totally comfortable with it yet. And it was a bit of a secret, but not really. And I'd had anorexia before that for many, many years. And that was also not a secret, but it still, this stuff always feels like a secret.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that had happened for me, though, by 2009 is I had realized that I'd been abused as a child. And I only realized that in 2008. So this was a very new truth for me. So it's kind of like you live in this parallel universe of being like, my life has always felt strange and wrong, and I never knew why. And now I have this information, which makes sense, but it doesn't mean that I'm like okay with it. It definitely, I was fortunate in that I'd done a lot of therapy up until that point. So it was almost like I got to read the like end of the Choose Your Own Adventure.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh, that's why. Okay, yep, this makes sense. But it's been a long journey. So when I got this character who was trying to be peppy and happy and bubbly, that's what I'd been all my life, because I was this little girl, like little girl who believed in everything magic and everything, and was literally the most friendly, bubbly person. Like my parents used to literally send me into rooms to warm up the room for them, because like I would walk in and go, hello friends. That was how I said hi to everyone. And I was naturally just in love with performing and entertaining. And unfortunately, I was born into parents that are afraid of everything. They really have chosen a life where everything terrifies them and worries them. Particularly my mom had a lot of sadness from her childhood that had been placed on me because we look very similar. I'm the only girl.
Same.
And
oh my God.
it's so get it.
It is a lot.
And sometimes it's very hard for parents. If they haven't healed the pain, they will put it on to their children. And so I was carrying this desire and need to make my parents happy. And I was hiding what had happened to me because I was so sure if my parents find out that this man did this to me, I'm going to be a bad girl. Like I'll be the bad, they'll be angry and mad at me and I'll make them sad. So I spent my whole childhood, even though I didn't remember it because I'd removed the memory from my life, which I never believed was possible until this happened to me. And I was like, wow, I'm so sorry I judged anyone that's had memory regressions, because it's a real thing.
It is, yes.
Oh, yeah. And I just didn't realize when something's that bad, you do. And so it made so much sense to me that I had been putting on this fake happy persona because I so desperately wanted to go back to the girl that was genuinely that happy and genuinely that in love with life. And I hated life. Like if you were to actually ask me honestly, how's life? I'd be like, I don't like this. I don't like what I'm in at all, but I don't know what to do and I'm stuck in it. And it's kind of like we're talking about the skin. Like I'm stuck in this skin that I don't understand and it doesn't make sense. And everyone expects me to be happy all the time because that's who I am. But I'm not, because I remember that girl. I remember the girl that was happy, that would want to get up and dance because it was just fun, that would want to sing a song because it was just fun, that would want to make a goofy face because it was just fun. But now I do all those things because I think I have to. And so that's the girl I had become. And when the lid got taken off, and it was because this man had done what he'd done to me, I started unwinding all of this. And it's taken years and years. And it's really, honestly, Daria, just taken until this year when I've really been able to see the relationship with my parents the way I needed to. And I'm at a place where I've completely let go because I was determined to take back little Georgia.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. It happened September last year. I kind of burnt out. I'd spent so many years being in service of others and volunteering and doing and starting nonprofits and doing all of that, trying to reclaim something of myself that I'd lost. And all I've ever wanted to do is make children happy. So I just said, let's just do that. Let's just make children happy. And in September, I realized that there was one child that I'd completely forgotten. And that was me. And that was little Georgia, who was the peppy, bubbly, back on Grand Pulse kind of girl that I needed to get back, because if I didn't get her back, I would never be fully me. And I needed to kind of parent her the way I always wished I had been parented. And so I went through this journey. All of this to say that that's Vanille's journey. That
Yes.
same thing of hiding and trying to be peppy and trying to keep everyone happy and trying to make sure that everybody's better and serving everybody. And she went on this journey as well and was, you know, shocked into this reality of being found out in front of Saz and then so publicly. And I always live with this fear. Like we talk about these voices. I have been the most well-behaved person, and the tiniest indiscretion, like literally, if I see a piece of trash and I don't pick it up, later I'm like, someone's gonna find that and see that I didn't do that. And
Oh my
like
God, I
that,
feel the same way.
right? And we do that to ourselves because we have this internal belief system that we're a bad person. Like that is what, if I take away all the noise, I have to acknowledge that my default is you're a bad person. And I don't want to be that way anymore. Like, not we're changing that, but I almost feel like for Vanille's journey, 3 ends kind of where I've been the last few years, where I went to complete like India, Africa, Central America, to be of service and to take on this role of, I'm going to remove myself from the human world a little bit and be this like giver. Because when you give and she becomes this kind of like godly character, you don't have to look at yourself anymore. You don't have to face yourself because you're living for those others. But I would almost hope that there's like a 4 and 5 for Vanille, where she realizes that the greatest gift you can give to the world and to yourself is to reintegrate that person with the human that you are and come to terms with a human life. And that's what I'm doing now, which means I get to be goofy and I get to make mistakes and I get to make videos like I did that you saw today. I
Yes.
would never have done a video 2 years ago because it's not perfect. It's silly and it's ridiculous. And that's what a human is. Sometimes we're silly, sometimes we're ridiculous, sometimes we're sad, sometimes we're angry, sometimes like, and I just could never have lived that. And I think Vanille had gone through complete denial to all of the journey of becoming like stepping back and being like, I need to fix everybody else. And I just hope for Vanille that one day she gets to have the fun, goofy, she gets to go back and find little Vanille. Maybe we should make that Final Fantasy 13-5 is when Vanille
There we
goes
go.
back to Pulse and gets little Vanille.
There's a little, I don't know, have you read any of the novels? They're written by the scriptwriter.
I haven't actually.
Oh my gosh, I have two of there's 4 of them, but I have 2 of them. They're really good. Oh my gosh. Like the syntax and prose is like amazing for the
Oh,
writer.
imagine.
What was I gonna say? But in the final one, they're having the final one, it's like structured like an interview. So it's this person trying to interview everybody who remembers the old world. And they go to Ping and Meal are like living together in like the woods or something. It's so cute. And the interview is like, it's like how do you feel like you've changed as a person? And Vanille's like, she's like, I've come to a point where I can accept that she says, I can't really change who I am like at heart, because your full personality forms at age 7. But she says like I'm trying to remember what she says. It's been a year since I've read this, but she says something like I'm learning to accept like where I am or something, and that some part of me won't change, and I have to accept, like enjoying myself. And that's like, and that made me it made me tear up a little bit. It's a shame that the gang is like split up in the final book. It just doesn't seem realistic to me. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I thought that part was like really sweet. So yeah. But thank you so much. Let's see here. Um, oh my god, 1 second. My hands are so slippery because I'm sweating. I'm like, oh my god, this isn't real.
No, breathe. It's all good. It's all
Oh yeah.
fine.
Wait, who's your favorite Final Fantasy 13 character who isn't Vanille?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I love all of them so much. I would be stuck in a position too.
Yeah, I don't even, oh my gosh.
Are you an elder sibling?
Middle.
Oh, middle. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
I'm an older sibling, and so like I love Lightning for that reason. I love the older sister guilt. Oh my god, it hits.
I could totally see you having that character, that kind of like taking it on, even though you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Um,
It was actually my senior yearbook quote. I almost chose a Vanille quote, but I went with the Lightning one because it was the one that got me through college applications. And it was, it's not a question of can or can't. There's some things in life you just do. I'm pretty sure you know that one. But yeah,
perfect. I'm trying to think.
take your time.
It's such a tough one. Um, I think I have to go with Fang. Like I
Ooh.
just have to because she's my sister. You know, she's my partner in all of it. And there's just a sort of deep strength with Fang that I always really loved. And Rachel and I have also had a lovely relationship and friendship as well.
Yeah.
So I think I like almost owe it to her to say Fang.
Oh, that's really sweet. And I love that too. There's one bit in the first novel, and this is detailing before the purge. And there's one part where Vanilla is narrating in her mind. She's like, uh, Fang fights not because she is simply like physically strong, but she's like emotionally strong, and because she loves really intensely for the people she protects. And I was like, oh my god, that's so sweet. And I can understand why. How do I say this? Part of like Vanille's decision, in my interpretation, part of it is a little bit of an inferiority complex to Fang because they grew up together and their shadow Fang is older. And how do I say it? Like wanting to like feeling like a little bit of like feeling useless because there's bits in the novel where like oh Fang always has to pick up after my messes and things like that, which sounds pretty in character, but I like that that's at least my interpretation. But I love that you admire the voice actor too. I love that connection and the character.
I do. I think Rachel and I have a very different relationship than Fang and Vanille, and Rachel's definitely a different personality to
Yeah.
Fang. Um, for all good reasons. You know, she's a very human, vulnerable person. But the irony was, as we were sharing, I realized that I have actually created a best friend that is Fang. So my best friend in the world, Shannon, is totally Fang. I never really realized that. But she was like in the Marines. She is a fighter. She's a police officer. But she's like all for the right reasons. She would go to the end of the earth and literally run into the fire for anyone she loves.
That's sweet.
There's no one tougher in the world than this woman. And but she holds like my job as her best friend is to try and get her to have emotions. I'm always teasing her. I'm like, is that an emotion? Did you just And we don't call crying crying. We call it wet eyeballs because it's too.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, I think I made you get wet eyeballs, and she's like, I'm totally getting wet eyeballs right now. So I think I've made myself a best friend in Fang.
That is so sweet. I love that so much. Oh, that reminds me of the line you were talking about your friend. The one Fang says, I'd tear down the sky if it would save her. Oh, that's a really good line.
And she would find a way to tear down the sky. She
there
would.
you go. That's a true friend.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so the next question I had. So Saz has like a people pleaser personality too, but it's because he's like a dad and like kind of projecting the emptiness onto each other and like trying to overcompensate because he doesn't have his son and he's like wrapped up in his guilt with it. But like I was gonna say like did you kind of like connect with like Saz and Vanille's relationship, or did you connect with Saz? Because him and Vanille are pretty similar.
Yeah.
Not super similar, but they have a lot of commonality.
That's why I always found that scene in the valley, forgetting where they're together, where they're like talking through everything and
Oh,
like
Sunlit Waterscape.
yeah. I always found that confusing to me because it's like she's almost trying to flirt with him, like in a weird sort of way of like trying to get his love, like not in that sort of way, but like trying to make him show her that he likes her or that everything's okay.
Or like baiting for a reaction.
Yeah, exactly. And I always found that so funny how like when he turns away from her, like when they're going to bed and he's like, "Ugh," and just like, "I'm done with you, little kid," kind of thing. And she's like, "Oh, fine, whatever." But
Mention to me.
it just makes me that scene always made me laugh because I do think it is this thing of like you've put the two people together to hang out that really there's so much unsaid between.
Yeah, and they're like mood makers. They're like, okay, let's lighten the mood. Come on, because
Yeah,
Saz's
exactly.
battle line, he's like, "Atta girl, let's go!" And like, and then
Yeah,
like, both battle lines are so peppy, but on the inside they're like depressed.
exactly. And it's such a great in like indication of what life is like so often is right like couples, for example. Like obviously Saz and Vanille are not a couple. But that would be
Hope
weird.
not.
But in life, people often choose their partners because of the mirror that they put up to them, right? So they'll choose a partner where they're like, I like this partner because we've both been through so much. Or I like my boyfriend or girlfriend because we really get it. We've had a tough time. But then they never actually heal together. They just exist and then they continue to do more hurt because they've both got this stuff. And I think the Vanille and Saz thing is kind of like these are two people that if they could just turn towards each other and turn towards their pain, that would have been the most transformational night for them ever. For like to use, and it's a personal example for me. My brother and I had secrets that we'd kept from each other for years, for years, for years, but we didn't really know. It was kind of like we didn't know what was unsaid between us. And because he's really famous now, and because he wrote a book that's about me and started a company that's about me, so but he never asked or anything like that had never come up because of the secrets. He was too afraid to admit that he should have talked to me or because he was so afraid of what would come up because of our past. And he had to because the book was being published.
Of course.
And I said, no, I'm not okay with what you're doing. And he wasn't expecting that because we never say no in our family. Everything's like, yeah, sure, that's fine. And then we keep all the pain and hurt inside.
Yeah.
And because I've grown so much, I was like, no, 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 this is not okay. And I sent in this 45-minute voice message of what is the reality of this situation and how much I love him, but I'm not okay. And this is who I am. And you don't know. And like all this sort of stuff. So we got on the phone for 3 hours and let it all out. Said things that like were hard to say and hard to hear. And we healed to the point where we have this incredible relationship now. Like the relationship between him and I is more honest than I ever dreamed it would be. And so when I look back at so many Christmases and holidays, right? And all of these moments, just like that night with Saz and Vanille, it's kind of like once they went through that confrontation scene, had they been able to have that night together again, it would be honest, it'd be real, it'd be healing. And so I do sometimes look back at Christmases and times where Hugh and I we've always loved each other. We've always been nice to each other. Like my family are the most hilarious. Like I raised my voice at my brother once in my childhood. Like this is, yeah. But that's because a lot was unsaid. And I look back at all those days when I know we were sort of pretending, like not totally, but everything was happy and everything's great. But underneath I was like, I don't feel like when it goes quiet, I don't feel great.
Yeah.
And now when it goes quiet between my brother and I, it's just joy. And so I do kind of like feel badly that we didn't have that. And I think that's when I think about that scene with Vanille and Saz, I feel like there's just such a missed opportunity for honesty.
Yeah, they're like almost connecting. Like, sorry, I'm thinking about this scene where Saz is like staring at his gun. He's like, we might need to like die for this tour. That's basically he's not being literal. He's projecting like a suicidal ideation.
Yeah.
And Neil's like, wait, what? But she can't say anything because it would force her to confront her death wish herself, right?
Exactly.
Oh my god. But when they actually talk about it, the ship escape scene, people say like, oh my gosh, that bossa nova music is not fitting for a ship escape when they're escaping. But no, I think it's like how they feel like after finally like connecting. They're like, yeah, we're gonna work through this together.
Yeah,
If I
it's
want
that
to kill
way
myself,
to
then my
do it.
body has to shut down each individual organ. I'm not doing it myself.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's how do I say it? That reminds me of like you getting that clarity, like you said, finally turning towards each other instead of just standing side by side and
Yeah.
passively acknowledging pain and things like that. So, oh my
Yeah.
god, that's so nice. You really get this stuff. I'm like, oh my god, like you really thought deeply about this. It makes me so happy. Um,
I am a deep thinker. This is what people don't expect, I think, especially with Vanille. Like if you get the character Vanille, but I think that's also a really interesting comment because people don't think about that stuff. And so they often kind of write, like you obviously didn't, but a lot of people wrote really mean stuff about Vanille.
cringe.
And it's just what they did because she's an annoying character at the start because she's being
She's
peppy and
supposed to
bubbly.
be.
Exactly. But people don't consider the person on the other end, and they don't take the time to think this person has feelings and this person has emotions. And I think that that's one of the biggest problems we have in life going on right now. But I think because of my personality being this happy, bubbly person that I actually really am, like when I'm not pretending at all right now, believe me, if I was having a bad day, you would have known about it because that's the truth. I'm having a good day today. So I can be super bubbly and peppy. But people decide that because that's how I am today, that I can take it if you're like, oh, yeah, you really sucked in that. And I'm like, wow, that's mean. Like, and I am a deep thinker with all sorts of negative voices, small voices that come in when things get quiet. And we all do. And I think it's a really important thing for us all to remember is that we're all deep thinkers.
Exactly.
I believe you're either a deep thinker or you're somebody that's turned so far away from your thoughts that you'll never be a deep thinker. I
Exactly.
don't I don't think we're made differently in that way. It's just your environment and your circumstances and your coping mechanisms.
Yeah, and I always, sorry, on that tangent, I always get confused when people are like, oh my god, Vanille's such a bimbo or whatever. Like, of course, like, the bimbofication is an act. Bimbofication. But from the start, like, her opening words are literally the narration. And it's, like, very, like, solemn and mature. Like, what was I gonna say? Like, this the introspection that she had. Like, even if she's looking back on it, that's what she was thinking about at the moment, right? And I don't know if you were told by the like Uncle Jack or whatever, but in the Japanese script, she throws in a lot of like it's like how do I say it? It's like supposed to like foreshadow like poking fun at her age because like she's 619.
Yeah.
She throws a lot of like archaic words in her sentence, and nobody seems to notice because they just think she's like, oh, she's stupid. Um, I like how effective the act is because I don't know the scene in chapter at the end of chapter 3 when Vanille's like, wait, who's the president again? And everybody's like, whatever. They don't. Nobody like thinks that's suspicious. I was like, oh my god, this genius. Vanille is so smart to like play it up to that degree. Like it takes a lot of
Yeah.
people. Um, but yeah,
I think honestly, Dari, if you think about it, like all we have to do is turn to TikTok or Instagram and see so many of those souls doing the same thing. And that's why I actually have a lot, like I can never, before coronavirus, I could never go to nightclubs or go out to parties. Like I went out to dinner last week in Beverly Hills and there were 3 young girls that had kind of got all dressed up and they were sitting at a table nearby us. And I couldn't look at them because if I looked at them, my emotions would just be like over there watching them being like, you don't need to pretend to be this. Because I could see them pretending to be ditzy and pretending. And I was like, it's not real. Like, you don't need to do this to get whatever it is that you want to get. But Vanille did it too. And every girl, whether it's the way she's doing her makeup, whether it's the way she's posing, whether she's decided, I know if I never smile, I'll be more attractive. Because if one more girl posts like it's just like the amount of I'm like, that face does not look happy. That face, like, I just don't get it. Why we feel we need to put characters on because we're all so uniquely beautiful and incredible and interesting. And our story is the most fascinating story as it is. And yet people spend their lives trying to create a new one.
Yeah, and I was gonna say cherry coat and sugar coat at the same time.
Anyway,
But yeah,
cherry
sugar
coat
coat.
it. I like it. We'll cherry coat it.
That's perfect.
That's actually sugar coating the cherry on top. That's
Yeah,
what cherry coating is. We've
there
made a
we
new.
go. Okay, I have a few more questions left.
Unfortunately, I will have to go at 4. So let's see. I'll answer quickly.
Okay. What was I gonna say? Um, okay, so the Japanese voice actress, when she was asked like what the directors told her to interpret Fang and Vanille's relationship as, here I have it right. I have the original
Well,
Japanese
look at you. That's so cool.
right here. I sent it in the Google Doc earlier, but she was like, but the main line it says, Fang and Vanille's relationship as being more powerful than friendship, and then in Lightning Returns we hear Lightning say, "A bond stronger than family," like her direct words. But I was curious, like, what did they tell you their relationship was like? Because most people online they interpret as like they're a couple or something. Well, I
Yeah.
do too because I like it. But
So I've gone backwards and forwards a lot. I never saw it as a couple. I have to confess. I never saw that just because I see Vanille as being someone that's almost asexual. Like she didn't ever really know what she was. Her pain and hurt has superseded her ability to really be in a romantic relationship with anyone. And I think, to be honest, Daria, that's a lot of my story as well.
okay,
So I think I was sort of projecting my own story onto this, that I saw Fang as very much a sister protector. And when they said it was more than family or like more than, it was that thing of when you go through what those two have gone together, it's more than a family. Like this is more than blood. This is pain, hurt, and trauma. That they would never, ever, ever be able to leave each other. That's how I saw it. But I have also like gone through my own journey of like questioning my sexuality and wondering what I am, and went through a journey of trying to work out, well, maybe I could be with a female, and then realizing that's actually not the way I'm made. But I think Vanille probably went through that too. Like if we were to really sit down with Vanille, she probably has questions about Fang.
you
Where
panic about it.
she's like, is Fang, because I'd have no feelings towards men, but then I love Fang more than anything. And I think that's what happened with me and Shannon, is that I was like, I love Shannon more than anything in the world. Does that mean Shannon is my partner? And we tried that on, and I was like, no, it doesn't mean that. But I still to this day don't know who my partner is going to be. My friends all think it's Ryan Seacrest, but
Perfect.
I mean, I'm just saying, not a terrible partner. But nonetheless, I think Vanille to me will always, and that's why I liked that she became this deity kind of character, because that was an asexual, like Mother Teresa is my like idol. So I feel very comfortable with this idea of never being someone that's partnered up. So I think I projected that onto Vanille.
Yeah, I get that a lot. What was I gonna say? Oh, Final Fantasy 13. Sorry, this is a little bit maybe TMI, but it kind of, how do I say it? I was going through a similar crisis, and it made me realize that I was gay because I was like, oh my god, Lightning and Fang and Vanille are so gay. Like what the, you can't, there's no heterosexual explanation for this. I was like, wait, why am I saying these things? Oh,
That's
I
interesting.
have I have a girlfriend now, and
Congratulations.
as of 3 days ago, we're 6 months together. So I'm really happy about that. But yeah, like kind of. I'm sorry. I wanted to thank you indirectly for like kind of that being a part of that awakening.
Yeah.
In a sense.
No, but that's
Um,
that's the beauty of that discovery and being open to it. And I think that's what, my journey was being open to maybe I am, and then going, actually, no, but it doesn't mean that I love her any less.
yeah, makes sense. Oh my gosh, I need to tell you, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's this one joke online that people talk about like through the years. And so it's in the scene where Vanille puts her hand on Fang's breast. The one
Yeah,
with,
completely. And then she looks at my butt. Yes.
okay, what was I gonna say? There's a YouTube caption. It says, "Don't worry, this is a Australian handshake." It's like been a meme. People are like joking about.
So my ex-boyfriend loved that scene like that thing so much, and sometimes he'd be like, he just grabbed my breath. He'd be like, "It's Australian handshake." I'd be like, "Oh, I know that very well."
Yeah.
There's the video, if you've ever seen it, where Vanille is the worst video game character ever.
I think I've watched that.
So he's such a mess. He's lovely and he's sort of, but he's such a meanie that like anytime he'd just be like, let's watch that video again. Let's watch that video. It'd be like he thought that was the funniest video, and he would watch it all the time, and he knew the lines off by heart.
That's hilarious. I mean, that's a little mean, but I'm like, oh my God, that's so absurd. Like,
yeah, that kind of video is fine. There were some comments that were really very mean. But that sort of video, I mean, that's clearly someone's opinion. And especially when he's like, I've only played a few hours in, and I'm like, well, dude, what's your credibility then if you haven't even finished the game yet?
Yeah, they're like, I don't understand her motive. I'm like, oh my God, you're in chapter 4. You don't make a judgment. You're like, wait, is Bruce Willis dead or not? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
One movie. It's just not something you say. Okay, so there's a meme I wanted you to voice.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, it's literally one line. Okay, I'm pulling it up. Thanks for your
patience. I love your outfit. It's very cute. I meant to say that when
I'm wearing Lightning's necklace. Seeing hate towards Vanille, like, because I relate to her so much, it's like, it's like attack on me. Oh, when it shouldn't be. Like I'm mature enough, but the gut reaction is like, oh my God, this is a personal attack on me. But with Lightning, and I really relate to her. Whenever I see hate comments that genuinely like mention her personality flaws, because I relate to a lot of those, or like have worked past those, I'm like, yeah, get her. But I really love Lightning at the end of the day. Okay. Good. Here it is. I'll type it in the chat. It's reversed. It says, okay, let me type it in the chat. Me in my own head, like, yeah, this seems self-destructive as fuck. Do it. Okay, let me type it.
Okay.
Thanks for being patient.
No, good. Oh, okay, so I get it. Like she's thinking, yeah, okay. So it'd be something like me in my own head, like, yeah, this seems self-destructive as fuck. Do it.
Do it in Vanille's voice, like a little bit higher.
I know, I knew that. I just wanted to get the intonation right. Okay, let's see. Me in my own head, like, yeah, this seems self-destructive as fuck. Do it. How does that sound?
Wait, one more. Can I do one more? Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Sorry, me and my friend really enjoy Vanille, and they made this meme. Okay, this one's really simple. I'm not like other girls. I'm worse. That's it.
Nice.
Please.
I'm not like other girls. I'm worse.
Oh my God.
I'll do that one more time. I think that could be done better. Let's see. We'll do this a different way. I'm not like other girls. I'm worse. There you go.
I'm on the verge of tears right now.
You're so cute.
Okay. Thank you so much for this interview. It really means the world. I was looking forward to this the whole week. I was like, I have to study because I'm a med student.
Yes.
Oh my God, I have to study for my organic chemistry. Oh my God, I have to study for biology, blah, blah, blah. And like, I have to keep motivated because I'm going to have this on Wednesday. So thank you.
This is your midweek break of silliness.
Yeah, it made me feel so happy. And thank you so much for being so honest with your experiences. And what was I going to say? I'm literally tearing up right now, but I feel like our experiences are very, very similar.
Yeah,
and,
beautiful.
It makes me happier to see someone who's older and like a little bit more accustomed, because I just started therapy back in February.
Good on you. May I ask what sort of therapy you're doing?
Well, before coronavirus, I was doing light therapy. You know light therapy with PTSD, right?
Yeah.
But now we just do regular talk therapy, like working through past events and things like that, and it really helps to have like a sanity check in the voice in my head. that's like,
So I'll just say this before I go, because I better go. But talk therapy is really good. If you get the chance to look into either EMDR therapy or somatic experiencing or somatic therapies, check it out. Because if you have trauma and if you have PTSD, talking is really good, but your body has held some of the trauma in it. And no amount of talking is going to take that trauma out of your cells and out of your body. So you almost need to either combine it with, like, I've moved on from talk therapy to somatic and EMDR so that my body can let go of the trauma.
I'll
So
definitely
I,
look into that after, maybe
yeah,
after coronavirus, because I was doing
yeah,
EMDR before.
that's
um,
perfect.
but yeah, thank you
Okay,
so
lovely.
much, Georgia. I really appreciate you.
It is
Thank you
my
so much for
pleasure.
helping me. All right,
And we will talk some other time.
all right, of course.
Okay.
I'll wish you a Merry Christmas. How about that? Is that
Yeah.
okay?
And Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'll wish you Happy Thanksgiving. Is that fine?
Perfect. That would be
Thank you
great.
so much. It makes me so happy that you did this for me. And good luck with everything else. I'll be looking forward to seeing more Glass of Lemonade videos.
That'd be great, lovely. And feel free to share this wherever. There's nothing I said that I'm not wanting anywhere. So it's totally fine.
Yeah, it is. Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you so
Okay.
much.
Bye, lovely.